told y'all in Friday's episode that I wouldn't be doing an episode next Friday, and that's because the Friday show causes me so much stress, and there's only one game this week, so I don't see the point of doing an entire episode when there's only one game to recap and then we get to the stuff. So I just figured I'll add that game to the weekend slate, just kind of take a little mini vacation of sorts. So yeah, I'm going to do today's episode, and I will include Wednesday's game along with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday games. And then you'll see me again next Monday recapping the past 7 days of WNBA news. So this episode and next week's episode, they might be a little longer than normal. Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Lyle, and this is WNBA Weekly, the show where twice a week, usually on Mondays and Fridays, I will stand in front of a camera and talk to you about things that happened recently in the association and things to look forward to in the upcoming days. This was a big weekend full of upsets and milestones, so let's get right down to the action. On Friday, you had Tina Charles with another huge double-double. She and Shavonte Zellous had 50 points, carrying New York to an overtime victory over Dallas. The Wings have now lost 3 in a row. And then you have Brittney Griner with a 27-point game. She continues to be having a fantastic season. The league's leading scorer carries the Mercury to a victory over the Sky. And then on Saturday, you have one of the biggest games of the season so far. You have Alyssa Thomas and Jasmine Thomas both having 20 points in the game. They held Sylvia Fowles in check. She had possibly her worst game of the season. Minnesota ends up dropping their first game of the season. They are now 9-1. And Connecticut, they actually beat Minnesota twice last year. They seem to have like a good handle on this team. It's just everyone has some bad matchups. This seems to be Minnesota's right now. Then on Sunday, you have a busy day full of action. Gloria Johnson was on a tear. She puts up 27 in her best game of the season. Skylar Diggins nearly has a triple-double. The Wings managed to finally end their losing streak, get a win over the Mystics. Then you have Diana Taurasi. She is now the all-time leading scorer in WNBA history. But that's about the only thing that actually went well for Phoenix today. LA just showed complete and total dominance from start to finish. You also have Chicago versus Indiana, the Sky winless at home, the Fever winless on the road. One of those is going to end up today. And Tiffany Mitchell comes off the bench for 19 points. She was the leading scorer in the game. Indiana finally gets their first road victory of the season. And then you have Breanna Stewart with just an amazing performance, 22 points, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks. And Seattle just manhandles the Stars. San Antonio still winless on the year. I don't think too many people are shocked by that. I don't necessarily expect the Stars to go 0-32 this year. I wouldn't be shocked if they did though. I expect 2 or 3 wins. Like 5 to 8 seems like way too much to be hopeful for at this point. After a wild week of action, here are your current standings. So Minnesota doesn't get to 10-0 this year like they have in years past, but they're still a strong team. I don't expect more than 5 losses from them this year. I mean, I could be wrong. They could fumble down the stretch, but I feel like as long as they're healthy, they've had the same starting lineup for how many years now? The chemistry is right. They got the deepest bench they've ever had. This is still a very strong team. And even if they lose all their games this week, they still have a solid lead on first place. So this Minnesota loss, I just saw it as an inevitability because I just doubt that in this league anyone would ever be able to go 32-0. But I don't think it actually hurts them at all. They're still sitting comfortably in first place. They built up enough of a cushion that anything short of complete and abject failure where they don't win at all in the month of August, they're still probably going to finish as the number 1 seed at the end of the regular season. And I've already talked about the Dallas Wings before, but I'm gonna keep saying this. I still have faith in them despite their record, because they've had a tough schedule to start the year. They've had 13 games this year. Every other team has had 10 or 11, and most of their games have been against decent teams with winning records. They've already been playing Minnesota, LA, New York. They've been playing a lot of the upper echelon teams. They've been playing against Taurasi twice. They've had a rough road compared to some of the other teams like Atlanta, who's only played 10 games, and more than half of them have been against teams with records 500 or under. So I said this at the end of May, that by the end of June we would have a much clearer picture of how the league is shaping up, and it is really starting to form a very clear picture with Minnesota just at the top, just dominating everybody. Teams like New York, LA, Washington, they're all fighting each other off for that second seed. You expect them to win most of their games against the majority of teams in this league. And then you've got teams like Phoenix, Seattle. You expect them to win the games that they should against all the lesser teams, but still kind of 50-50 against the best of the best. All that being said, the month of June is still not over, and even when the month of June is over, we've still got July and August. It's a very long WNBA season. Technically, there is still a possibility that Minnesota could miss the playoffs. I don't see that happening. I think every human being on the planet expects them to get in and be the number one seed. But still, theoretically speaking, it's possible for them to finish the season with only those 9 wins and end up with a lottery pick, which would be damn scary, because they're already too fucking strong as it is. Anyways, whatever, you get the point I'm trying to make. And I just want to take a quick second here to congratulate Diana Taurasi, an amazing player, one of the best that the world has ever known. She's now the all-time leading scorer in WNBA history. We all saw this coming. Nobody is shocked by it. And she's still got a lot more to go. She's saying she wants to play for a 5th gold medal. I can 100% see her doing that. So, from now on, every milestone she hits, she'll be the first. She's going to be the first to 7,500, 7,600, 8,000, however much further she continues to climb. She is now setting a mark that everyone after her will be chasing. And also, good luck to Sue Bird. She's got 9 assists in today's game. She continues to be the league leader in that category as she chases number 1 all time. She keeps inching closer and closer with every game. As long as she stays healthy, it's happening this year. It'll be in the later half of the year, but it's still happening. And now we move on to the final segment of our show where I talk about all the games that are coming up this week. As always, I will tell you which ones are being broadcast nationally, which now it's getting to the point where there's nothing else on TV, so we're actually going to get to see the majority of these games. And for the rest, check your local listings, or you can watch every single game on WNBA League Pass. And as always, the times I'm telling you are going to be Eastern Standard Time, so be sure to adjust for your time zone. The first game is on Wednesday. It is the Stars versus the Wings on NBA TV at 1 p.m. And the Wings, they lost 3 in a row, but they got a win on Sunday, and now they've got 2 straight games against the Stars. So Dallas has a good chance here to put together 3 in a row, get some momentum going, build themselves back towards that playoff spot. On Friday, you've got 5 games in action. 4 of them are going to be broadcast on TV. The first one is the Sun versus the Liberty. Connecticut has now put together 4 straight wins, gotten themselves back to 500, and one of those 4 victories was against New York, and it was a 20-point victory. Will the Liberty be able to bounce back, get some vengeance, or will Connecticut continue just tearing through everybody? You've also got the Sky versus the Dream, same time, same channel. And the Dream are one of the only teams that the Sky have actually managed to beat this year, so it could be competitive. You've also got the Mystics versus the Lynx, and the first time that these two were matched up against each other, I honestly believe that Washington would be able to hand Minnesota their first loss. But then Della Dallin got injured and missed the game. The Lynx ended up winning by 20. But with a healthy Atlanta Della Dallin, could Washington potentially hand Minnesota a second straight loss? It's possible. Stranger things have happened. You've also got the Stars versus the Wings, which I've already talked about. The Wings have a good chance to put together 3 straight wins. The Stars, though, 2 games in a row against an in-state rival, they have a very good chance of possibly getting their first win of the season. And then you finish off the night with the Mercury versus the Storm. Both of these teams, they've got the same record, so this game will be definitely a tiebreaker. And they're in the exact same position right now where, one loss could kind of knock them down to the edge of the playoffs, so they're teetering on their brink. But a win could put them into the top 4, depending on how other teams do. Then on Saturday, only one game, which I'm very happy about because I never get Saturday off. We've got the Sparks versus the Fever at 7 p.m. on NBA TV. The Fever, despite some of their struggles that they've had all year long, they're still one of the best home teams in the league. Then again, LA is just charging on all cylinders right now. On Sunday, you've got 3 more games. You've got the Sun versus the Wings at 4:30 p.m. on NBA TV. You've got the Sky versus the Mystics at 6. And then you finish off the week with the Stars versus the Lynx at 7 p.m. on NBA TV. And the fun thing about that game is that no matter what happens in the other games the rest of this week, this is still going to be a battle of first place versus worst. No matter what happens this week, Minnesota is not getting out of first place. Even if they lose all these games this week, all it does is erase their cushion. They still hold on to first place. It just makes it so that now it's like a 3 or 4-way tie for first place, with them owning the tiebreakers currently. But they'd still be in first. And San Antonio, even if they win all 3 of their games this week by some miracle, they would still only at best be able to crawl from 12 to 11. And that's still only if Chicago loses all of their games this week, which doesn't seem that unlikely. Either way, I can comfortably say that this game will probably have absolutely no bearing on the standings. So yeah, that's it for this episode. As I said in the opening, not doing a Friday show, so I will see you on Monday for the next all-new edition of WNBA Weekly. And until then, this has been The Fan Perspective. I'm your host, Nathan Lyle. I hope you have a great week.